Hi and welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca and we are working on Kookaburra again today. I keep messing with diamonds on this one. I got to the point last night, I did this big section, but I got to the point where I was able to use my pack of cover paper across the whole lot because this is only a thin strip at the top, so I was able to pop them the other way, which means we are getting there. We are definitely getting there. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to do the WIP and Waffle for today. I'm doing this in the daytime. I have some orders that will need packing. But yeah, I thought let's just get going. I've got at least an hour, probably about an hour. What are we on? Quarter to, maybe a bit longer. But yeah, about an hour. So I thought we'll see how we go. I have also, though, I filmed the kitting up that went up last night of the Advent event painting before this. And I was just thinking how my batteries were going. I've got a battery in this camera that doesn't normally last a full WIP and Waffle. It's one of my rarely used ones because it doesn't do a full WIP and Waffle. But yeah, one of my longer lasting batteries has actually just finished charging. It takes longer to charge a battery than it does to use one up. So yeah, I wasn't sure if my batteries were going to last as long as I needed them to, but now I've got that one charged. We're all good. So yeah, I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody's had a great weekend. At the time this goes live to everyone, so on the Sunday at 4 p.m, I will probably be sat on my couch doing a lot of nothing. I have my nephews this weekend coming up, so they are very, very well behaved and they are absolutely adorable. But they also have far too much energy, far more energy required from me than it is for my own kids. Because my own are all a lot older. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to, but we're very excited. We have plans for the weekend for things to do with them, which are also fun for us. So it's going to be really good to be able to spend a couple of days with them. But yeah, I'll probably use Sunday late afternoon, evening time to fully chill out after a busy weekend, and we'll see what next week brings in terms of energy levels. But yeah, I hope everybody else has had a fun weekend, whatever it is that you're doing, and that you've all had a really good time, basically. The consensus on reading comments. I have been through the comments this morning, and those that have responded to whether you're happy for me to read the oldest comments or not. I appreciate every single answer. But those that just contain the answer to that question, I have been through and reacted to let you guys know that I have read it. But I don't want to read all of them out on a WIP and Waffle, which will take a lot longer, especially when anybody that has answered that question has basically said they watched them both, they're not bothered, and yes, just read out the oldest comments. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm starting with the oldest comments today. They are pretty much all of them are on my Heaven and Earth design. Most of them I'm still working through. A lot of comments on the preparation of my Heaven and Earth design and actually getting that ready, and then there will possibly be some on like my first section completed of my Heaven and Earth design. So as you can see, they're classed as 2 weeks ago on my YouTube right now, though it wouldn't surprise me if they changed to 3 weeks ago very soon. YouTube doesn't give specific days after you get a week. After you get to a week's worth, they're like, yeah, we'll just do a general. But we do have quite a bit of comments on the theory, which has since been debunked, about whether the month you are born in tends to be your favourite season, and whether that is the case. It is the case for some people, but it is also not the case for quite a few people. So I think we can say we have debunked that theory. But Kathy, she says that autumn is her favourite season, but she was born in July. So there's another one proving the debunked point. Bellara says she probably misheard, but she asked where I got the cheaper canvas from for my Heaven and Earth design. So for that project, I purchased 2 canvases. One from Evermoment with the numbers on, which is currently the one I'm using and sort of still figuring out a little bit. And then I also got just a normal, straightforward, blank square canvas from another store on AliExpress that was quite a bit cheaper. And to be fair, I would have been very happy just using that one. If that was the only one that I'd have bought, then I would have just used that one. So that store is actually called MT, so Mike Tango DIY Art Official Store. And I only paid $16.99 for that canvas. So if you are not bothered about having the numbers on the grids that Evermoment provide, then it seems to be a great quality canvas to me. But I'm giving the Evermoment one, I'm using that one for this project because I have it more than anything, and I want to give it a good run with those numbers. They are a bit confusing for me. Some people do say that it gets better and they actually liked it. It's not done that for me yet. Doesn't mean it won't, but it hasn't yet. So we'll see how that goes throughout my Thursday WIP and Waffles. The other one I am planning on using on testing some sort of projects and things with using possibly charts, possibly my spares. Not exactly sure yet, but I am keeping it for using for things like that. Right, I think there's some colours I don't need the light pad on for this one, but it is still clearer with it on. So I think I'm going to turn it on. I'm actually going to plug it into charge. It's the same charger that I use for my tablet for my Heaven and Earth design. But I'm just going to plug that in and it'll let my light pad charge up so that when I do use it at night, when doing any sections of this, it's fully charged because I charge it during my WIP and Waffles, which works for me. Polly, she's commented on my finish WIP and Waffle of Walking in the Rain. She says, absolutely gorgeous finish, Rebecca. She says, great job. Thank you. It is an absolutely gorgeous picture and it was so much fun to do. I'm very excited to do Outside the Sweet Shop, which will be my next one. But I have a Heaven and Earth design to finish first. I like to get excited and get ahead of myself for next projects. which I probably shouldn't do, especially with my big projects, because they take so long to actually finish. It takes quite a while before I get to a finish point on a big project. But yeah, I'm very excited to do that. I'm actually going to be kitting up Floral Surprise soon as well. I don't think that kitting up video is due till like week after next. So it'll be a bit before I kit it up, but I will be kitting it up before the December event starts. And I'm actually going to do that as my painting throughout December. I do sometimes get a little bit more time in December to diamond paint, especially with sort of the days in between Christmas and New Year and things. There's more bank holidays, which means there's no shop work. I try to take those off. I might respond to a few emails, but I try to take the bulk of the time completely off. And yeah, I tend to get a bit more diamond painting in. So I'm going to kit up Floral Surprise because it's a diamond painting that is a surprise, so it's not one that I'm going to do on a WIP and Waffle anyway. I will do a kit up, and then I will do a D-kit, and I will show it at the end, but with lots of warnings before spoilers for anybody that does want to see it finished. But I won't be doing WIP and Waffles with it, because I don't think it's fair for somebody to miss out on a WIP and Waffle, miss out on, potentially their comment read or their question answered, because they don't want to see the painting because they haven't done it yet. So yeah, I think it'll be a fun one to sneak in over the Christmas period, and complete the chart one, which I enjoy. I actually quite enjoy doing it on the paper chart and not putting it into the likes of Pattern Keeper, just for that extra little bit of challenge and a little bit different. I like to mix things up a little bit, and that works well for me. Susan, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she downloaded Markup RXP last year for the same reason I did. She said she wanted to use her iPad, which is the reason I downloaded it. She says she only used it during the Advent Diamond Art Studio kit. She did not continue with it, she says, but when she was close to the end of her 7-day trial, they asked for her opinion. She said she gave it truthfully, that she was not quite sure if she was finding it useful or if she was liking it or not. So they extended her trial for another 7 days. Oh, that's good to know. She said that got her through the entire Diamond Art Studio 2023 Christmas kit. She said she did end up buying an inexpensive tablet because she prefers to purchase a product like Pattern Keeper than pay an ongoing subscription for something like Markup. She says she knows she will have to use it for this season's Diamond Art Studio kit and for the Floral 2 chart mystery kit. She says she's looking forward to all of the WIP and Waffles for my Heaven and Earth design project. She says love from Canada. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the thing that sort of turns me off a little bit as well, because I'm not doing a chart all the time. So yes, at the moment, once a week, I'm doing my Heaven and Earth design chart. But once that one's finished, I won't be doing a chart painting, and I don't want to keep paying a subscription for something I'm not using. But at the same point, I don't want to be paying a subscription for a chart that at the moment I'm using once a week, 4 times a month. Paying £15 is too steep for me. Yeah, it just doesn't, just it's just not something I want to pay that much for, to use the product. I'd much rather pay a one-off fee, and then I feel, you know, as though I've paid for it, I've got it, and I don't need to feel guilty, feel like it's not quite right if I'm not using it that month, especially if I go a full month without using it, but maybe have the intention of using it. So therefore I'm still paying for the subscription because I intend to use it, but life gets in the way and I don't actually use it, then I've wasted that money. I'd much rather pay an upfront fee than pay a monthly. So Pattern Keeper is what I will keep using until my Huawei tablet ever gives up. And then I would probably look at buying, if I'm still using it, I'd probably look at buying another tablet that has the Play Store, because then I can just transfer my purchase over. Colleen says she's been waiting for me to start this one, the Heaven and Earth Design project. She says she can't wait to see this one finished, and she said she loves my channel. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's a fun one to start. I've been looking forward to it too. Considering my massive Heaven and Earth Design project took me 4 years to finish, and there were definitely times it felt like longer. It felt like it was dragging. It is actually something I've missed doing, which I think is I mean, if I didn't have Floral 2 to do, then I would probably have worked on that Heaven and Earth Design throughout the Christmas period, because it's different. It's a change up. But yeah, I've got Floral 2 to do, so I'm going to do that one instead as just sort of a sneak in project. Because I did the Christmas one last year and absolutely loved doing that one during Christmas. I actually finished it quicker. I didn't do it one per day because I knew come closer to Christmas I would be a lot busier. But I would quite often come in and film my WIP and Waffle for the December event, and then go and sit down and do 1 or 2 sections of the Diamond Art Studio Christmas event. So yeah, it's kind of fun to have a project that doesn't necessarily have a timeline either, because it's not one I'm doing as a WIP and Waffle. It's not one I feel like there needs to be progress on. Yeah, I can just do it for the fun of it. So it's all good. Right. I think I've only, oh no, I've got a couple of those, but not many. Let's get those out of the way. Dip into the pot for those ones. There we go. Have I got them all? I think so. Who knows? I could be wrong. Trying to sort of finish these bits around here before I then go into the middle. Of course, some of them cross over, but that's what my aim is at the moment. Mops the Tops, she says she was born in winter. Her maiden name was Winter. She got engaged in winter. She emigrated in winter. She remarried in winter. Her husband is a winter baby. She loves winter food, and she always visits the UK in winter. She says, and her father and 2 siblings are all winter babies. She says, can any zesty beat that? Probably not. Probably not. Especially with the maiden name being Winter as well. That one's definitely a ticking the winter box that not many of us will have for sure. Helen, she says she used to live in Llandudno. and worked on the florist. She says on that row of shops in Craigydon. I probably said that completely wrong. That was the letter M, wasn't it? I'm questioning my symbol placement then, and I can't see it. No, it wasn't. I didn't think it was. Hang on. I just thought to myself then, I have placed that on completely the wrong symbol. Just those two. Or at least I think it's only those two. Yeah, that one's right. Oh, okay. Try and concentrate. She says where the quilting bee is. So she worked on the same row as the shop where the quilt bee is. She says her ex-sister-in-law owns the florist, and she said she loved the fabric shop. Yes, the fabric shop is amazing. It's actually about an hour and a half from my house. I have found one closer in Poynton, but I still think Llandudno might be an occasional visit. It just shuts early on a Saturday. So Saturday is the only real day that I can sort of get out to go to a fabric shop. So it'd have to be a first thing in the morning thing. So maybe in the warmer months when we can maybe spend a little bit of time in Llandudno as well, it will feel as though it's worth taking the trip out. Of course, if we go on holiday in Wales again, it will definitely be a trip on the way home. Whether it's on the way or not, it will be a trip. She said she spent many a time there. She says, plus around that corner, she says, is a beautiful Italian that also does quality steak. Oh, that's an idea. Might have to try that out during a visit, go out for lunch as well. Helen, she's just put OMG. She says she's just realised that JD Robb is Nora Roberts. She says, who I love. Yes, JD Robb is Nora Roberts. She writes it, J and D, I think, are her son's initials. So yeah, she sort of writes the in-depth series under that name because it's different to her other sort of more romance books. Cat Lady. So now we're on comments from my first section of my Heaven and Earth design. So this is my first WIP and Waffle on it, where I was using markup. So I was testing markup. But the Cat Lady says she thinks she would have gone back to Pattern Keeper by now. I gave it the full WIP and Waffle. I gave it the full WIP and Waffle treatment before I decided to go to Pattern Keeper. Dragon Skies, she says markup doesn't come across on the screen as clear as Pattern Keeper. She says she may be biased as she is not an Apple fan. She says she's not completed a Heaven and Earth design project. She says, but as a viewer, Pattern Keeper is much easier to see. And I agree, it's much easier for the user as well. And definitely comes across better on camera. So I have been told the settings I can tweak, but my trials ended on markup. So unless I wanted to sign in with a potential different Apple ID and try it on that, it's not something that I'm going to be able to test fully. And to be honest, it's lost my interest markup. Pattern Keeper is a lot nicer, in my opinion. If they bought Pattern Keeper to Apple, which I know it's been said that it's in the pipeline, and it's said that for years. Since when I first started using Pattern Keeper, it's been in the pipeline for going on Apple for years. So I'm not holding my breath. But if and when it did go to Apple, I would pay to use the program. Again, I wouldn't like a monthly. I would not like a monthly with it. But if they did a one-off fee on Apple, even if it was dearer, I would pay it. And then I could have it on my iPad, which is always charged. It's easier to get hold of my files, all that sort of stuff. So I can get the files to my Huawei tablet. It's not hard to do, to get them onto there. I just save them to the Google Drive, the same Gmail account that I use on that tablet, and I get them from there. So it's easy to do. However, it's easier on the iPad because I just pull them straight from the files. There's no having to put them onto Google Drive first. I just get them. Which is always easier, in my opinion, to just be able to get them. But yeah, I would pay another one-off fee to have Pattern Keeper on iPad. Grey Legrand, she says, on the markup frequently asked questions. Let me get that one in there. She says the annual subscription currently costs $14.99 plus any local sales tax after the 14-day trial period. She said this is a recurring subscription and less than the price of a kit or a few skeins of thread for a whole year's access to the app. She says so it's a yearly subscription. Yeah, and while it is only a few skeins of thread and less than a kit, for a cross stitcher, if somebody was doing, you know, cross stitch and used it for multiple different patterns and that was their hobby that they did a few times a week, that all works great. But for us diamond painters who aren't doing a chart conversion all the time and may, like me, only do it once a week. Oh, said yearly subscription. Okay, that's actually thinking about that and it not being a monthly. That's a lot more reasonable. I don't think cost-wise that would be as big a drama then. If, for example, Pattern Keeper, which I actually prefer the program, did that, I would probably pay a yearly subscription of $14.99. I probably wouldn't pay a monthly. I would find a way to get an Android tablet instead. But yeah, sorry, yearly isn't as bad. Monthly is. Monthly, it's just not worth it for me. Nancy, she says she loves her Pattern Keeper. She says Mini Beautiful Light was a dream, she says, as her first Heaven and Earth design. Yes, as a first try Heaven and Earth design, because there isn't as many colours, and it is such a nice picture, it probably is definitely an easier one to potentially try as your first Heaven and Earth design. If you are so inclined. Not everybody is so inclined to try chart canvases. They're not interested, which is, you know, pure personal preference. People diamond paint for different reasons. Some people literally just want to be able to dot and not think, whereas I very much like the additional challenge every now and then. There are times when I go to diamond paint when I don't want to be thinking like that, and there are times when I very much do. But yeah, Beautiful Light is a perfect sort of one to start with, or Mini Beautiful Light. It's not too big, but it is still big. It's nowhere near like my 4-year one. It doesn't have many colours, so you probably would need to purchase your diamonds rather than use your spares, depending on how long you've been collecting your spares for. But yeah, it's a nice painting to start with. Grey Legrand, she says she's hitting pause. She says she thinks it's time for me to take a break take a coffee break and add some liquor to it. She says the suffering is just too real. She says she appreciates me taking one for the team. She says for Team Zesties. It is a kind of painful WIP and Waffle to watch. It is. It's nowhere near as relaxing as some of my others. I mean, it was annoying that the symbols didn't grey out as much, though I have heard you can adjust that in the settings. Of course, when I'm doing a WIP and Waffle and filming, you know, not talking while I mess about in the settings is not as easy to do. So I appreciate everybody that told me that I could mess with the settings. But yeah, even messing with the settings, it didn't pick up all of the symbols. A couple of times, one particular symbol, when you told it to search for that symbol, it actually picked it up in like 2 different lots. It'd pick up one section of them and then it would pick up another section of them. And it's just not easy to work that way. Because the whole idea of using the app and being able to see, for hitting a symbol and it being able to pick them all, the whole idea behind that is that I'm not hunting for them. And I would find myself doing all the symbols it highlighted and then still having to look over the canvas and double check it hadn't missed any or skipped any. And I can't be doing with that. Quite frankly, I would like the easier life, please. Thank you ever so much, Lee. That's what I go for, the easier life. Right. Okay, let's go for this one. I may well end up missing some of these. We shall see. This is the diamond, the dark purple, which is my next one sort of down here. But it's also one that's sort of used as shading. So checking all the way around the outside and then all the way in parts down here. Oh, and then we've got some in this one. Trying to check I'm not missing any, though I quite possibly am. It's just one of those symbols that's more of a scattering and a shading than a here they all are. Mary Jane, she says, maybe use Pattern Keeper. She said it seems more user-friendly. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Tweety, she says hi. She says she hopes me and the family are well. She says, would you please tell me, she says, where you got the diamonds for this painting. She says a friend of hers got a painting at a yard sale, but it didn't come with diamonds. How much are they? She says if there are a lot. She says, do you know if there is a cheaper place? She says she gave her diamonds from her extras so that she can get started. She says, thanks for all your help you do for us Zesties. So the diamonds I got for my Heaven and Earth design were from Ever Moment on AliExpress. They are not the cheapest diamonds that are out there. So if you want cheaper ones, then you could probably search AliExpress for some cheaper ones. Ever Moment diamonds are resin diamonds, which are the dearer of the two. Acrylic diamonds are cheaper. The quality of Ever Moment diamonds, though, I really, really like, which is why I went with Ever Moment. But yeah, I ordered them in bags. So the only thing is knowing the amount that you need, which can sometimes be a problem if you got a diamond painting without diamonds, is knowing how many of each. But yeah, I basically put in an order for X amount of bags and then I messaged them to say what colour I wanted those bags to be. For me, it was a great, easy process. I just copy and pasted my list over into the message. They came back with the list confirmed of you know, what they were going to pick and pack, and they arrived fairly quickly considering they're coming from China. So yeah, I got mine from Evermoment. Cheryl, she says, God bless you, Rebecca. She says she thinks that I have given it a good go with markup, and it's time to go back to Pattern Keeper. She says, unless there is a setting in markup that allows you to adjust the marked squares, she says she votes to go back to Pattern Keeper. She says, save yourself some headache. She says, especially because you're also dealing with a different canvas with numbers. She says that you need to factor in as well, which is true. I do have to think about the canvas more than I would do a plain blank one, because I am working on the Evermoment one with numbers on them. It's not the way I am used to doing that chart. I will probably have more mistakes because of it, but I feel like that is something that is worth me giving it a go for the full canvas. I've started enough now. I've done enough of the canvas. It's not too confusing that it's like this is driving me up the wall. It just frustrates me every now and then. And I just have to think a little bit more every now and then when I get to the numbers, which may become easier over time. So I do want to give that a good run for its money before I potentially give up. But no, I doubt I'll give up when it comes to the Evermoment canvas now. I reckon it is just perseverance with it, and if I still feel the same way once I've finished, at least I know not to purchase it again. And I did debate whether to purchase the Evermoment canvas at all in the first place because of those numbers, just because I know that I'm used to working with it without, but I did want to showcase it. I did want to showcase that that option is out there, because some people may look at it and go, that will work for me, and if, you know, somebody sees that and actually decides to give a Heaven and Earth design a go because that option's out there, then I'm all for that. So not trying to force anybody to give Heaven and Earth design a go as a different way of diamond painting. However, if people are wanting to but feel like they have obstacles, anything I can do to help get rid of those potential obstacles, I'm all for. Bev, she says she uses markup and she pays yearly. She says it was cheaper for her to pay $17.99 for the app than pay however much for an Android tablet. She says, but she has recently got an Android, so she might give the app a go. Be very interesting to know if somebody has used markup first, because of course I used Pattern Keeper first. Markup wasn't about when I first started my original Heaven Earth design about 5 years ago. So it'd be very interesting if somebody has used markup first, but then later on got an Android tablet and tried Pattern Keeper. I would love to know what your thoughts are going that way round. Of course, I had a reference of what Pattern Keeper was like and how easy Pattern Keeper is to use. And I still have access to it. So it was very easy for me to go, nah, I'm done, and switch over. But it may be that if somebody's used markup first and then moves to Pattern Keeper, because they're used to markup, they may find it easier. So if you ever do give it a go, Bev, and have an opinion once you have, that would be very interesting if you could share that. and let us know whether it's, you know, whether you've switched sides or not. Cheryl, she says, comment number 2. She says she feels bad. She says that she's working on a custom using Pattern Keeper without a care in the world, she says, while you're struggling with markup. She says she knows that there are settings in Pattern Keeper that allow you to change the look of the squares once you complete them. She says she doesn't blame me for charging up that tablet. Yeah, I mean, don't feel bad. It's something I wanted to try anyway. There was nothing stopping me from... Oh, that was a very sticky part of the glue dots. I put a fresh glue dot in this last night, this pen. So it's obviously still having the odd sticky moment. Yeah, markup is something I wanted to try anyway. I wanted to give it a go. But yeah, don't feel bad at all. I like to challenge myself and give myself a go at things. And I just figured showing you guys how it's working and what I'm thinking as I'm going through it would potentially be beneficial to you. So that you know, but you know, also understand that I haven't got myself familiar with it when I'm not whipping and waffling and chatting. And I hadn't messed with the settings and all the rest of it. So I hadn't done all of that stuff. But it does have a free trial. So if you have an iPad, at least now you know potentially what things to go in and try and tweak and change and mess about with and pretend that you're doing a pattern while you figure it all out. And hopefully that will make things a bit easier for you. And you know, say you can just give them a go and you may find, aha, glory setting. This is working perfectly for me, and it could save you potentially looking at adding an Android tablet to your Christmas list. If it's something that you want to do in the future. Irene, she says, she gives me a hand, she says, for doing this comparison. She says markup and Pattern Keeper. She said she might not have been so patient with the mishaps while working with the markup program. She says she believes she will be sticking with Pattern Keeper. She says, thanks for sharing these comparisons. I think if you have Pattern Keeper, stick with it. If you have it already, then give it a go. But yeah, I'd be very interested to hear from somebody who has used markup first and then potentially moved to Pattern Keeper. Do they also agree that that is a good move to make? Or do they find them both as easy to use as each other? Because you've learnt markup first, would be interesting to know. Doro Be Punked, she says, yay for starting a new Heaven and Earth design painting. She says she's looking forward to the progress next week and how long it will take. I feel like it's not too long or too short of a whip and waffle when it comes to my Heaven and Earth design ones using Pattern Keeper. I can actually do my 6 sections that I'm used to. It's a nice size that fits in my tablet screen, which is why I like it. It means I'm not seeing all the potential other symbols surrounding it. It just highlights the ones I want. And yeah, it's therefore I progress quicker than potentially just doing the 4, because I only started doing 400 diamonds when I use markup. I just placed the 4 square sections rather than doing 6 square sections. I'm doing 600 diamonds because yeah, I didn't want to get myself too confused with too many new things all at once while doing a WIP and Waffle. She says, Clara, she says, hi, Rebecca. She says, long-term watcher. She says she doesn't comment much. She says, but she has to say, watching me not use Pattern Keeper was weird. She says, as she's watched me use it before. She said it's a no to the new markup XP from her. She says she could hear my frustration. She says, Pattern Keeper for the win. She says, thanks for all that you do. I love how everybody agrees that moving to Pattern Keeper was a good decision. I feel like the WIP and Waffles are a lot calmer and nicer since I moved over to doing Pattern Keeper. I feel like they're a lot more natural to me as well, because I'm just used to what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong, I still make mistakes. I made one in this last Thursday's one, not putting enough blacks down, but again, it was sort of my own fault in the way that I did my squares, my black squares, rather than doing one square block worth of blacks at a time. I decided to go big and go across a couple at once and ended up mucking it up. Debbie, she says she's had a go with markup and compared with Pattern Keeper, and she said it doesn't come close. She says Pattern Keeper is the best app that she has ever used. She says she does have iPads, but she bought a Samsung Tab A, which she bought purely for Pattern Keeper. She says she's had it 5 years now, she said, and it's brilliant. Well, that's good to know. There is somebody else that much prefers it. I do have a question for you though, Debbie. Did you use Pattern Keeper or markup first? Which was the first one you used? And sort of, if it was markup, how long did you use it for first? Like, was it 5 minutes on each of them and you swayed towards one? Or if you use markup first, were you using it for a good few months and then used Pattern Keeper and fell in love? Like, it'd be very interesting to know, sort of, I suppose, say which one came first. Because sometimes it can be swayed by what you're used to. So, for example, I've used Pattern Keeper. I've done, a painting over the course of 4 years using Pattern Keeper. So, of course, I'm used to Pattern Keeper. And I don't want me saying that Pattern Keeper is better is purely because I used Pattern Keeper first and haven't given markup a proper go. The trial period sort of stopped me giving it a bit more of a proper go, but and as I say, my frustration on it not selecting all of the same symbol was the thing that made me not give it another week, not tweak with any settings and give it another week's chance. Was the fact that it wasn't selecting all the symbols. But is that because I hadn't messed with a certain setting? But yeah, it'd be very interesting to know whether your love for Pattern Keeper came first or second. Becky, she says it looks painful. She says she was hoping that markup would get a good review. She said so she could use it for the chart to art canvases. She says, but since it's problematic, she says she'll just do them the old-fashioned way with paper charts. See, that's something I could potentially do. Now, I couldn't do it on camera. It would have to be a discussion in a future WIP and Waffle, probably, quite possibly after Christmas. But if I do have more than one Apple ID. I have two, only because I have one for the business and one for myself. So I could quite possibly delete markup and then re-download it on the business Apple account, which means I would get my free trial again, and give it a go with a chart to art, and see how that goes, and whether that would, whether I change my rating in any way, because it's not completely dreadful, but I have used Pattern Keeper before. So I know there's better out there. I know there's something that won't cause me as much frustration. Would it cause me less frustration than using the paper charts? Quite possibly. So I wouldn't write it off and say don't give it a go. But I would say give it a go with checking the settings, seeing if you can adjust how the colours look, that sort of stuff, and see if that makes a difference. Sorry, the door's gone. That's why Luna's going ballistic. She doesn't like anybody at the door. So yeah, maybe a chart to art would be a very good way to give it a go. And if not, then paper. I mean, I quite enjoy doing it on paper, but that's just me. I am weird. I am weird in some ways. Jen says you can adjust the settings for how dense the colours are, which is, say, that was one of my big bugbears. And the fact that you can adjust the settings for that is good. And I don't want to be too harsh on markup, even if I do prefer Pattern Keeper. I don't want to be too harsh on markup about it all. So yeah, maybe when I click it up, floral chart to art, I might try and give markup another go. Debbie, she says, Rebecca, oh my goodness, she says, go back to Pattern Keeper, just charge your tablet. Yes, I have charged my tablet. And to be honest, I did do it a few times where I would go to do my WIP and Waffle on my other Heaven and Earth design, my original one. And I would realise my tablet was flat. And I would have to, charge it before I could do my WIP and Waffle. Which sometimes was a pain. But I am doing this regularly every single week, and I am trying to consciously, one, keep the tablet out. So with my other one, I used to put it away in the top of my rolling cart. So I used to put the tablet away, which means it wasn't in my line of sight all the time. Therefore, in turn, reminding me to charge it. Whereas now I have decided to keep it out. Make sure it is plugged in. Make sure that when I'm using it on camera, it's plugged in. And so far, I'm doing a lot better with making sure it has charging. So I gave myself a talking to. Melissa, she says, hello, Rebecca. She says she just got a notification that she got a badge for being a founding member. She says, thank you. She says so much. She says, how do I use it? The badge, I think, just shows, it does show me when a member is commenting. Compared to when it's not a member. So you just get, when you comment on my channel, you get a little badge next to it that says that you're a member. And I think members' comments, when you look on YouTube from seeing other people's channel and their members, the members' comments are all highlighted in sort of one place. For me, where I view my comments to react to them, they go in time left order, but quite often members see the videos a couple of days before anybody else, So because of that, their comments tend to get read first. But yes, I can see your badge. She says this entire process, she says, of conversions terrifies her, she says, and confuses her beyond measure. She says her question is, she says, why do you need any type of conversion when they give you the chart to use on Pattern Keeper and the drill inventory sheet for you to order your drills off? She says, what role does that play in the process? She said she would totally do it if she could just buy the chart canvas and drills. You can. I'm not sure what part of conversion it is. The only thing you need to get a measurement for or convert for, well, actually there's a couple of things that could be. One is the chart that you get, so you don't have to put the chart into the likes of Pattern Keeper or Markup at all. They just make it easier to use, in my opinion. The chart will tell you the number of stitches across and the number of stitches down. You need to do a sum for that to give you the measurement in centimetres to be able to order your canvas. So say your chart said it was 100 stitches across by 100 stitches down. You would need to do 100 times 0.25, and that will give you how many centimetres your canvas is across, and then you would do the same for the measurement going down, which in this case would still be 100 times 0.25. Apart from that, you don't particularly need to. The only other thing I did was, because I was ordering drills that were in a bag of potentially 160 drills, is I took the number of drills needed and divided it by 160 just to tell me how many bags to order. You can order the charts with the canvas printed on them, or the canvas with the chart printed on them, from Heaven and Earth Design Direct. I actually have one of those to do in the future, and then you can order your drills separately. Some places will have, I think Smith's Beads is one of them. I don't know if there's more, but I'm pretty sure Smith's Beads is one of them. While they don't have the charts and you still have to buy the chart from Heaven and Earth Design, they do have a list of Heaven and Earth Design like charts, and they will do the figures, they will figure it all out for you. So they are, I'm pretty sure they're a company who will do it for you. They're based in the UK. And if you send them a link to what chart it is that you're doing, so again, you're not sending them the actual chart. It's like when we do the stickers, we don't want your actual chart, just the link to what chart you're doing. And they will do all the math for you. So the listing on Heaven and Earth Design tells you how many diamonds or stitches you need for each one without you having to purchase the chart yet. So yeah, they'll do all the math for you. So if you want the easier option, do that. Elise, she says, hey Rebecca, she says she uses Pattern Keeper and she has tried to use Markup in the past. She says she doesn't think that you can get better than Pattern Keeper. She said, especially for the price. She says also, she says, by the time you pay for Markup, she says maybe you could put those pennies towards a newer tablet for Pattern Keeper. She says she has the cheapest Android tablet that was decent, and it was $200 Australian dollars, 200 Australian dollars. She says, and she has no regrets. She says she bought it purely for Pattern Keeper. Yeah, I potentially could. To be honest, my Huawei tablet is pretty good. I like it. The charging side of things is, you know, purely just me forgetting to plug it in. It's not that it runs out of charge super quick. It will use, you know, a fair amount of charge when I'm using Pattern Keeper, but that's because I don't have the screensaver on it. So I tell it to never put a screensaver on. So yeah, it's just a matter of, because I have a week between using it, it wouldn't necessarily go flat within a week, but I would then forget the second week to charge it, and that's when it might show signs of having a problem, which my iPad would do the same if I didn't use it for other stuff as well, and therefore charge it up regularly, same way I do my laptop. So yeah, like if Huawei tablets still had the Google Play Store on, I would suggest a Huawei tablet as one to buy, because as a budget tablet, and when they used to be budget phones, they're really good price for what they are. I've been more than happy with my Huawei tablet, and the size is nice. You know, it's the screen size. I don't even know that I need a bigger screen size. I quite like doing 6 blocks at once. I feel like the amount of time it takes to do those 6 blocks is also, you know, nice time-wise. So yeah. But I do suggest if somebody does want to do Pattern Keeper, then yeah, getting a fairly priced Android tablet is definitely worth the money. Diana, she says, Rebecca, she says, watching this, she says she was nearly jumping out of her seat in frustration. She said she's used Pattern Keeper as well. She says, but for this, she would have used her tablet as a frisbee by now. She says, like you, she says she is all for trying new things. She says, but it's Pattern Keeper all the way. Christine also says, she says, frustration central. Thanks for taking one for the team. Yes, it was definitely one of my most frustrating WIP and waffles so far. Barbara, she says she uses Pattern Keeper for her cross stitch. She says it is the best. It is absolutely fantastic, and the pay one price, which when I bought it was $7.99. I don't even know if it's gone up or not, but $7.99 was a really good price. Anastasia, she says she can't tell on the app. She says when I tick them off. She says she's not sure if it's just her. She says, but the colour difference might not be picking up on camera. No, it was definitely still showing the symbols way too dark on camera. She says, where with your Pattern Keeper, she says the symbols turned to the colour, turned into the colour of the diamond, she says, which made it a lot easier to follow along with me. She says the black one can be seen, she says, but there's so many pale colours in this painting. She says she thinks she'll be frustrating myself on something that I then have to keep paying for, which is true. Who wants to pay for frustration? Really, who does? Right, I'm going to keep going, hoping that my battery lasts, which I have put my second better battery in, and see if we can finish this, because I think I should have time, she says. We shall see. Nellie, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she thinks it would be better if I go back to doing my picture on the Pattern Keeper. She says it will make more sense to us. Yes, I think it helps you guys as much as it helps me, to be fair, because Pattern Keeper is very nice and clear. I love the sidebar on Pattern Keeper as well, considering when I first started doing my Heaven and Earth design, I didn't use that sidebar. But actually the sidebar has been extremely useful once I got used to using that in Pattern Keeper. And even more so on this painting, because there's only 15 colours. Well, in fact, not even more so on the other one, because I had 4 different cases for all my diamonds. So I was able to just work through one case, finding all the colours that I needed before moving to the second one. So yeah, that sidebar is really good, which I couldn't find on markup. I did actually look for that, to have the sort of sidebar where you can choose the colour that it's searching for without pressing on the symbol. I did look for that on markup and I couldn't find it. Doesn't mean it's not there, because I could have looked in the wrong place, but I definitely couldn't find that, because I wanted it. I wanted the sidebar. Mary, she says, and this is why she says she will not attempt to do a blank canvas painting. She says, sorry for the struggle. She says it was truly painful to watch. She says she hopes this goes smoother once you switch back to Pattern Keeper. And yes, it has. So as frustrating as markup was for all of us, don't let it put you off never doing a canvas type painting. You know, you've got to remember as well, yes, I was getting frustrated with markup, probably slightly more so because I knew that Pattern Keeper wouldn't give me that problem. So sometimes knowing that there is something better out there can make something new more frustrating. Which is why I want others' opinions if they've tried markup first and then tried Pattern Keeper later, because I don't want it to be getting more of a bad review because I've tried Pattern Keeper first and got used to that. But yeah, also not only that, I was also doing a WIP and Waffle as well. So when you're busy reading comments, chatting, or even just chatting through what you're doing to make sure that you people, you know, I was talking to you as well, can distract. It can distract me from thinking about what I'm looking at, or maybe taking that 2 minutes to just breathe and look through the settings and see if I can alter something. You know, it doesn't enter my head the same way when I'm doing a WIP and Waffle as it would do if I was at my diamond painting table doing it. Just, hopefully that makes sense to you. So yeah, if it's something that you would like to do, don't let that one video put you off. Because one, there is always Pattern Keeper, which is great. Second, many people use markup and like it. You know, they may not have used Pattern Keeper or have the ability to use Pattern Keeper, or they may have just messed about in the settings a little bit more, got their head around it a little bit more. Whereas I did all of that on camera while also chatting to you guys and not taking that time. So don't let it put you off completely. But it has definitely been better since I've been using Pattern Keeper. I'm really, really enjoying doing the Heaven and Earth design using Pattern Keeper. I'm loving the process. So, yeah. If you have Pattern Keeper, use it because it's great. Bella the Beast, she says the pen resting on the tray before I picked it up made her think that the tray was split. She says, and it was messing with her head. She said she couldn't figure it was the pen, and that was this one. She thought just the pen resting on it. At least I think it was that one. yeah, couldn't figure out. It's amazing how sometimes you just see something one way, and no matter how much you try to see it a different way, you can't. And then you can go away from something or figure out what it is, and your brain goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then when you look back at it again, it looks like how it was supposed to. Our brains are wonderful and weird, all at the same time. Mel Bell, she says she has a brain freeze. She says this WIP and Waffle, she says, was driving her bananas. She says because while she was diamond painting, she said she had to look up so many times to see what was going on. The frustration has spread. I do apologise. Such a frustrating WIP and Waffle for everybody by the sounds of it. She says she doesn't usually make comments, she says, but she had to say something. She says, Rebecca, please go back to Pattern Keeper. She says she'll come and charge my tablet for me. I use that as an excuse. I'll put the kettle on. She says she can't wait to get back to normal Thursdays with Pattern Keeper. She says, and she uses the Ever Moment blank canvas, and she said she loves them. So there we go. Somebody who still likes doing chart ones, even though my WIP and Waffle was frustrating as heck for many. Let's not have any of those frustrating WIP and Waffles for a while. Balara, she says nothing can beat Pattern Keeper. She says, by the way, she says, where did you purchase the other blank canvas? She says the cheaper one. She says she'd like to restart her huge Heaven and Earth design, she says, and the price did sound good. So yeah, I did mention it at the beginning, but it is from MT DIY official store on AliExpress. And their prices are really good, and they just do poured glue canvas. So even though it does say stuff about double-sided tape in the title, I think, of the item, I did message them and they did say they only do poured glue. So maybe they were just doing that so it would pop up in searches. But just in case that helps you too. Denise, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she had a numbered canvas when she worked on a large Heaven and Earth design. She said to her, she said it was helpful that the format of the canvas was basically a replica of what she was seeing on her tablet screen. So she could easily follow where it was. She says she was looking at like for that, she says, and it made her happy. She says she remembers last time that I picked up how Pattern Keeper worked very quickly compared to how this is going. Yes, I don't think my first video using Pattern Keeper was anywhere near as torturous as this last one was. She says Pattern Keeper, she says Pattern Keeper also had a function, she said, where once all the squares, all the colours in one square were done, and you press the screen, you were able to save them all, and they reverted, the colours then reverted to a solid colour. She says, even for me, she says, as a 64-year-old who is techno challenged, she says she figured out how to work Pattern Keeper with help from me and watching other YouTube videos. She says Pattern Keeper all the way, she says. Yes, that is a very valid point actually. When I first started using Pattern Keeper, it was nowhere near as frustrating as using markup. It was picked up a lot easier. And I think the main, well, yeah, there was a couple of things. One, that the symbols were able to disappear and me not be looking at symbols that I had done, which I understand you can change the intensity in the settings. but I think as default it should be better. But yeah, I didn't have that whole it not picking all the symbols up either, just to add a different level of frustration in with it. I didn't have that to deal with. So yeah, I think picking up and using Pattern Keeper from the first time was a lot easier than markup. A lot more intuitive. Leonore, she says she started her first cross stitch conversion. She says not from Heaven and Earth Design. She says, and she used markup since she has an iPad. She said it's working perfectly. She says after she changed the transparency of the done stitches. She said she also thinks she paid a yearly fee, but it wasn't too high. She says, but she does understand that once you are familiar with an app or software that works well for you, she said it is very hard to change. She loves her Apple devices. She says so she can't easily work with an Android one when needed. She says wishing you all the best, which I get. Android devices in themselves they are, to me, they are harder to use, harder to figure out ever so slightly. I do have the benefit. I used to work in a mobile phone shop selling mobile phones before I moved to the offices within the same company. So while I've always had an Apple phone, I have worked on troubleshooting loads of different things with Android phones, and the software is the same across the tablets. So I do have the familiarity enough to figure something out on an Android tablet from working with the phones. But yeah, it still made me get an Apple. Like, who wants to fight with phones in work and then fight with them out of work? Not me. So yeah, maybe I do try and give markup a go with one of my floral tablets. Maybe I will just download it from a different Apple account and give it a go. Or get one of the kids to put it on one of their iPads and I'll try that. Because I do, as frustrating as that app was, as frustrating as that video was, I don't want to give it too much of a moan and a grumble if some of it is just settings that I didn't deal with. Which it sounds like one of the things was settings. And maybe that would have made a difference to how it picked up the symbols. Who knows? Who knows? It may or may not have done. Alexa, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she's been using markup for about 2 years now. She says you can change the level of the opacity of your mark symbols in the settings. She says you can also set it if you would like to see the symbols underneath of the one you've placed. Underneath the one you've placed, if you like, and you can also get it to change the colour of the symbols you've selected to work on next. She says, hopes this helps. She says there are also some good YouTube videos on using markup. She said she found that very helpful when getting started, which I must admit I didn't look into any of them. Probably would have been a good idea. She says she didn't have the option of using Pattern Keeper. She says because she does already have an iPad, and she simply couldn't justify buying another tablet for a single app. So yeah, maybe I'll give it another go. Maybe if I do give it a go and find that it works as like a test off camera, maybe I'll do another section using markup properly. I have a design section maybe. Who knows? We shall see how I get on with it first as a possibility. But anyway, I actually got to finish that section and it probably is about time I need to go and move myself and get the rest of my day done. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this Whip and Waffle. I feel like we are getting there with comments. Now I don't have to think about which ones I'm reading, and I can just go from the bottom up. A lot of Heaven and Earth design talk today, but of course other times there will be other chitter chatter going on. I'm just pushing down some of the diamonds. I probably, well actually I can do this on this light pad, but I do feel like this whole painting needs a really good, you know, full on push down, which I'm not going to do on my light pad. I don't mind doing a light press on my light pad, but I'm not doing a heavy one. Yeah, I feel like the whole painting needs a bit of a hard press down, but he's getting there. I have got him on a pull noodle now, so he tucks underneath. But yeah, that's it for today's section. We will of course get him finished before the December event. I think we've got a couple left. One. Oh no, we've got one more left. The 24th of November. Because the Advent Waffle actually starts on a Sunday. So we actually have less sections than I thought. Somebody must need to get their wriggle on over this next week. So yeah, join me next week, which will be our last Sunday Whip and Waffle. And I should be up here because my plan is to get him finished before Advent. I won't get him kitted down, but my plan is to get him finished. Oh, actually, I could possibly get him kitted down. Squeeze an extra video in that week, maybe, and look at getting him kitted down. Ooh, yeah, I'm having a little mess about. I'm thinking if I kit Diamond Art Studios floral kit up a little bit earlier, then I might be able to get him done and kitted down and all tied up before Christmas. But anyway, it's a good job I checked that, because I would have just come to do the video and then halfway through the following week realised that I didn't have time to finish him. So yeah, I will get this bit done, and then we will do the last part of him in the last Whip and Waffle. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.